Before the market opens, let's identify where the highest probability supply and demand zones are forming. By the end of this forecast, you'll know exactly which currency pairs are worth watching this week and which ones I'd avoid. Let's get right into it. Starting off with the daily chart of the DXY, you can see we were talking about this daily upward trend line here, and as price was above this 50% mark of the channel, we were predicting here on my YouTube channel to see a sell-off in the DXY. But overall, we are expecting the dollar to continue to rally to the upside, and I think we might have actually gotten the bottom here on the dollar as we pushed right into this 4-hour area of demand below all of this liquidity. What a move from that zone. This zone was pointed out in last week's weekly Forex forecast here on YouTube, guys. And on the 4-hour time frame, still we have that 4-hour downward trend line. But like I expected, we got a reaction off of that demand. The question now is this the bottom of the move on the dollar? Why I'm thinking it might not be is that we have a much better demand zone down below, and I think even if we do pull back, that will most likely be the bottom at 99.74. On the real test to determine if this is the bottom is if we can break this supply and the downward trend line. To me, that's going to be a lot of evidence to suggest that the DXY will continue to the upside. And why am I so bullish on the dollar? Well, two reasons. Reason number one, we have a monthly demand in control. These black dotted lines, I'm not going to pull up the monthly chart. This is a monthly area of demand in control. And we have a clear weekly supply above as a target, along with a weekly trend line to the upside. So I think that is where we are most likely headed in the next couple of months, up to 103.06 on the DXY. On to the forecast for the Euro US dollar. Very nice daily downward trend line right now, but we are definitely somewhat overextended, I would say. I like to throw the channel tool on the trends to really determine where we are at. We actually were sitting below the channel. We pushed back into the channel. Even if we do get a move up on the euro, we have a daily supply above at 115. I think that's where we could see a move to the downside if we do in fact see more euro strength. As far as trading the euro goes this week, we really have a couple of options. Remember, I am bullish on the dollar, so all longs on the euro right now, I would be, you can definitely look for longs, but I would be very aggressive with trade management. You can see we have a 4-hour trend line to the upside. If this trend line continues to hold, that will be our guide for 15-minute time frame longs. So you definitely want to monitor this trend line here. Make sure you copy it on your charts. And then on the euro, on the 1-hour chart, again, I am bullish on the dollar, so I would be more favoring euro shorts, but we have a quite good demand zone on the 1-hour chart at 114. What I like about the zone is the move away is absolutely amazing, and we have a clear area of support sitting right before it. This acts as liquidity. So what I would like to see is another reaction off of this support. It's not needed, but it is preferred. To me, that will tell me that there are retail stop losses below that support, right into our demand zone, and that's where we can get a nice little long trade. As far as trade management goes, remember, I am bullish on the dollar, which means I am bearish long-term on the euro, but it doesn't mean we can't, get a pullback to the zone and see a nice 1-to-1, maybe a 2-to-1 trade. So if you're going to take this setup, I would be somewhat aggressive with trade management. On to the forecast for gold. You guys can see clearly on the weekly time frame breaking that low, significant momentum to the downside. And I've been saying this for quite a while now. There's a monthly demand sitting all the way down here at about 34.47. I think that's where we actually could be headed, and this will be a great dip buying opportunity for gold. I personally think that's where gold will be bottoming out if we do in fact continue to fall. On the daily time frame, very similar to the Euro US dollar chart, nice daily downward trend line, but we are very overextended. We've kind of been sitting below the channel, so this trend line is almost becoming irrelevant, but we have been kind of floating around the bottom end of that channel. I think we could see gold maybe pull back up to the upper parts of the channel or the trend line and continue to sell off. Even if we break even further to the upside, we have a daily supply up here that's decent. I think we could maybe see a reaction off of that zone if we do in fact pull up to that area of supply. On the 1-hour chart, so as far as trading gold goes now, we had a beautiful setup here. Nice little 1-to-1 trade. I was telling members, if you wanted to get involved in this trade, we have to be aggressive with trade management, which is why we did not target the high or anything further. And we just got a nice quick little trade here, called out before in the daily market breakdown video for the Diamond members. Beautiful quick trade here. That's the power of understanding trade management. This zone was removed, and that left us with a 1 hour area of supply at 40.29. It's actually quite an interesting setup because we are currently kind of creating some sort of liquidity trap here. I don't really want to call it a liquidity trap yet. I kind of want to see another push down and another reaction off that resistance area. Then I think that supply could be even higher odds. So that's our supply zone for a short trade at 40.29. Considering we are so overextended on the daily chart, I would be somewhat aggressive with trade management off of this supply as well. But I think it could be a good little area of supply for a quick trade to the downside. On the 4 hour time frame, if you are a day trader, we have this 4 hour trend line to the downside currently being respected. So if you like to day trade the 15-minute chart or even the 5-minute, this is our trend line guide for shorts on a 50-minute or a 5-minute time frame. Beautiful move off of this 4 hour area of supply as well. Called out a couple weeks ago in the weekly Forex forecast here on YouTube for free. If that's not a reason to hit that subscribe button and like this video, if you are enjoying it so far, I'm not really sure what is. Onto the forecast for the S&P 500. We have a very nice weekly upward trend line right now. Throwing a channel tool on it shows that we're just literally hovering around this 50% mark of the channel. So it's tricky to tell if we're going to be getting a deeper pullback or another leg up to the upside. Honestly, this chart is very confusing to me. Even on the daily time frame here, the sideways price action is very visible here as we are just basically going up and down, and there's really no clear direction other than that weekly trend. But as far as the daily chart goes, I'm not sure where this is headed. What do you guys think? It's very tricky for me. We pointed out this 4 hour demand zone trade. That was a beautiful trade. Unfortunately, I am out of that trade now. Already hit my take profit, but I just don't really see any nice trading setups right now. Really sideways price action. We recently removed this 4 hour trend line. So, unless we can get a break above this high on the 4 hour time frame, giving us a nice trend to the upside, I'm not really seeing too much as far as trading setups go right now on the S&P 500. So we just got to be patient, wait for some trend lines to form on the 4 hour or the 1 hour chart. Then we can look to day trade those and wait for some new zones to be formed. Because right now, it's really tricky to trade. And when that's the case, I don't feel comfortable pointing out anything to any of my subscribers. Moving on to the forecast for the USDJPY. We recently broke the all-time high on the USDJPY. Very, very rare in the currency markets. If we throw a channel tool on this weekly chart, it actually shows that we're below the 50% mark. So I think longs are actually much preferred here. I do prefer getting in long near trend lines, obviously. However, below the 50% mark, it's definitely reasonable to continue to look for longs on the USDJPY. 4 hour chart is very sideways. There's nothing I would be looking at there as far as trading situations go. However, on the 1 hour chart, we have the all-time high sitting over here, and we have a 1 hour trend line. And clearly with this trend line, we are pushing up to the all-time highs. The question is, will we be breaking to the all-time highs for now? The trend line is drawn from here to here. This is simply a reaction off of our properly drawn trend line. As long as this trend line is holding, you could be looking for longs on a 5-minute chart. And what do I mean by that? It means however you trade, whether it's supply and demand, support and resistance, chart patterns, indicators, whatever you do, I would be doing it only on a 5-minute chart and only long and only if this trend line is being respected. We easily could be targeting the all-time high as well, especially since the higher time frame trends are up. The daily trend and the weekly trend are looking good, especially with this 1 hour trend. And as we push to all-time highs, there may be new zones formed, so that's what I'll be waiting for. But for now, day traders are in luck as we have a pretty nice 1 hour trend line to the upside on the yen as our guide for day trading longs on a 5-minute time frame. Moving on to the forecast for the pound weekly time frame, very tricky to understand where we're going. It's literally just sideways, not much to go off of there on the weekly time frame. However, on the daily chart, we had a nice daily downward trend line. That trend line was cleanly removed, which means longs were actually looking pretty good, especially after the daily trend line is breaking. You can still look for longs in a daily downward trend. It's just a little bit lower odds. We want to be more aggressive with trade management. However, when we broke above the trend line, that was definitely signaling strength, which is why, as a group, we were looking at this beautiful 1 hour demand zone trade right here. Not the best zone I've ever seen. So aggressive trade management was needed. But I mean, what a setup from here, and tons of profit margin to the upside here on the pound US dollar. What a trade. Called out before in the daily market breakdown videos for the Diamond members, and even one of the members in the Discord group got a nice little 1-to-1 trade. Unfortunately didn't get the whole move, but congrats to that member. Again, this trade was called out before in the daily market breakdown videos for the Diamond members. If you want to trade alongside myself and the members, join the Diamond membership, where you will have access to the 38-page supply and demand zone PDF, which will be your complete trading guide, the daily market breakdown videos, which are forecasts that I release every single night for the members to trade alongside myself, step-by-step video lessons A to Z covering everything you need to know on supply and demand trading, the Sunday strategy Zoom session where members submit homework, and it's an interactive 1-hour call where we go over all of your homework and every trading related question, private access to myself inside of our private Discord group where I answer all of your trading related questions, and finally the Sunday live stream forecast where we break down over 30 markets together. And it's not just me. Here are some of the members and some of their trades they've been taking lately, absolutely killing it. And we also have some amazing reviews from some of the past members sharing their experience within the group. So if you're ready to trade alongside myself and the community, join the Diamond membership today. Links in the description down below. So this trade, beautiful trade, but we pushed up so aggressively, fell so aggressively. I don't see any setups as far as this 1-hour time frame is looking on the pound US dollar. However, on the 4-hour chart, the day traders are in luck here as we have a very nice upward trend line. On the 4-hour time frame, we did get a little overextended, but we pushed back below the 50% mark, and we're at a decent point to look for longs on a 15-minute time frame. So as long as this trend line's holding, and as long as we are below the 50% mark, 15-minute time frame longs are going to be good here on the British pound. And again, since we are bullish on the dollar, I am, as a swing trader, I'm actually waiting for this trend line to break and hopefully leaving us with a nice 4-hour supply zone. That's going to be my swing trading entry long for potentially a nice pullback to the downside on the GBPUSD. On to the forecast for the USDCAD. This is the daily time frame. Daily demand, I've been pointing this one out in all of my forecasts for the past couple of weeks now. The zone just came in control. Nice reaction off of it so far. Nothing to really write home about, but clearly an area of demand in control. And what I like about this zone is that it's pretty much inside of a weekly zone as well. I won't lie, I had the zone drawn a little smaller like this, but it was so close to a test. I just changed the way I drew it. I'm not saying that I had the zone drawn like that before. I just adjusted it to basically combine all of these zones together. So we have a nice weekly zone, a nice daily zone in control as well. And I was pointing out this 4-hour demand zone, set and forget. It looked decent at the start here. And what I liked about this 4-hour set and forget is it's literally a 4-hour demand zone embedded inside a daily zone, embedded inside of a weekly zone. So there's a lot of higher time frames along with this zone. But I was telling the members and you guys in last week's forecast, we have to have a wider stop here due to the fact that we have all those higher time frame zones. We don't really want to have a tight stop here because we easily could see something like this. So with a deep test, I'm actually expecting this zone to break, but ultimately I don't really know where, but again, with the daily demand, weekly demand in control, I'm expecting to see a very nice move to the upside on the USDCAD. And look, I could be completely wrong. We could absolutely tank. But when we have higher time frame zones like that in control, we pretty much have to go with them, guys. There's nothing, I'm not going to short at a weekly, daily, and 4-hour area demand. I'm just not. It just wouldn't be a good idea. As far as trading the USDCAD goes right now, again, with all of those higher time frame zones in control, we want to start to look for change in character, whatever you want to call it. I call it confirmation. So what I'm going to be looking for here on the USDCAD is this 1-hour downward trend line. It is drawn from here to here. If this trend line breaks and we are left with a 1-hour demand, that will be our confirmation trade on the USDCAD. Let's say we push up, we break the downward trend line, but we don't have any demand here. That's fine. We have a couple 1-hour supply zones above, and then if those get removed, that will be our demand zone for a long trade. Now, some of you might be asking, well, what about these supply zones? Can we trade them? You can, but remember, the higher time frame forces are in control. Weekly demand and daily demand are much stronger than two little boo-boo 1-hour areas of supply. These were nice trades if we would have got a pullback right away. And I still think you can trade them. I would mostly be looking at that zone at 141. So if you want to trade these zones, you can. I would just be aggressive with trade management. I think we could see small little 1-to-1 moves off of the zone, which means look to take profit at 1-to-1 or look to bump your stop loss up to break even as soon as possible. Personally, I think the better option is to simply wait for confirmation and to add to our long positions here on the USDCAD. On to the forecast for the Aussie US dollar. This purple box here is an area of support. I trade supply and demand. I don't trade support and resistance, but I like to look at these zones for liquidity. To me, it tells me there are retail stop losses under here right as our demand zone could be hit. So I think this move will be short-lived. I mean, it is possible we push all the way up and the support resistance traders get a nice win there. But again, I think that this move to the upside will be short-lived. And if we go to the 1 hour time frame here first, beautiful trade from this area of demand. Unfortunately, you can't always get the entire move here. What a trade. Congrats to the two members as well, Simo and Alex, for catching these trades in the Discord group. What a move, called out before in the daily market breakdown video for the Dime members in the Discord group. Another trade called out before it took place. What a trade. And then you could see Alex got a lot of that trade. Unfortunately, depending on where you put your stop, you didn't get all that move. As far as trading it goes now, we have a 1 hour downward trend line to the downside. If we throw a channel tool on this trend line, you can see we are actually sitting right at the 50% mark of the channel. So if we push above a little bit near the trend line, that's going to be our guide for 5-minute time frame shorts on the Aussie US dollar. And I think that could be good because we are so overextended, right? It just makes me a little bit nervous, getting in long right now. However, on the 4 hour chart, we actually have a couple of options here. So we have a nice trend line to the upside. If you're bullish on the Aussie, again, I'm not super bullish, but if you are, I like to point out both sides. If you're bullish, this is what I'd be doing. If you're bearish, this is what I'd be doing, okay? Relax to the people in the comments. Oh, you're just pointing out both sides. Well, that makes sense because in a week, price could do this, right? So anyways, having a little fun. 4 hour trend line, as long as that's holding, you could be looking for longs on a 15-minute chart. We have a decent little area of demand here on the 4 hour time frame at 0.69. That would be our pullback entry for a long trade. It is decent. The zone is all right. I'd be aggressive with trade management though. And then if you are bearish on the Aussie, we have a 4 hour supply that's pretty decent above. I'm actually just going to tighten it up just a little bit at 0.705. So if you're bearish on the Aussie, that would be our supply zone for a short trade to the downside on the 4 hour time frame. On to the forecast for the USD Swiss. We have a very nice weekly trend line to the upside combined with a very nice daily trend to the upside as well. I think even if we pull back, we will have a bottom point here at around 0.79 at that daily demand level. So even if we do pull back, I'm still going to remain bullish on the Swiss. But for now, my two higher time frames, the weekly and the daily, are both looking very, very strong. Combined with that is this 4 hour chart where we have a trend line drawn from here to here. This is a reaction off of our trend line. Our trend line rules are very consistent. That is why we always, not 100%. That's why we usually see reactions off of my trend lines like 90 to 95% of the time, which is pretty accurate. As far as trading it goes now, as long as this trend line's holding, and if you're bullish on the dollar, 15-minute time frame longs are going to be good. If we break this supply above, it's a proven supply zone, which means any demand zone that removes that is going to be a very, very powerful zone. Even if we do get a pullback below this trend line, we want to hold off on longs below the trend line, wait for longs again at that 4 hour demand at 0.799999. That will be our pullback entry for a long trade. Even if we break that, we have a even better demand sitting all the way down below at 0.79. So a lot of backstop here and support as in demand for the USD Swiss. Monitor the trend line, and if it breaks, those are our two pullback entry for long. Moving on to the forecast for crude oil. We were calling this bottom out. Just literally go back, watch my forecast so you can confirm that. It's all predicted beforehand. No BS, P&L, and rented Lambos here, guys. Just literally pure trading education and call-outs before it takes place. We are predicting that bottom and a move to the upside. The question is, how big of a move will we continue to get on oil? I personally hope, just for society's sake, it continues to fall. On the daily chart, we have a daily downward trend line, clearly pulling back kind of to the mean here on oil. So it's tricky to tell how big of a move we are going to get. On the 4 hour time frame, we are so overextended here. I mean, I don't even know if I need to throw a channel tool on to really prove to you guys, but we will, just for the sake of the video. We're clearly sitting above the channel right now. So longs, not the best. It kind of feels like you're chasing. So if we get a pullback near the trend line, then I think day trading longs could be good on a 15-minute chart. We actually have a trend line update to do here on the 1 hour time frame, so why not do it live? You can see the 1 hour trend line shows it's not super overextended, right? If we throw a channel tool on this trend line on the 1 hour chart, it's not actually super overextended. We're actually sitting below the 50% mark, which means you actually can still look for longs on a day trading time frame, but I wouldn't do it on anything other than a 5-minute or a 1-minute time frame, which means your take profit will be less, which means you're looking for a smaller move compared to the 4 hour time frame, which is overextended, which is why understanding the time frames is so vital to trading. So as long as this 1 hour trend line is holding, you could be looking for longs on a 5-minute or a 1-minute chart. But again, since we're overextended on the 4 hour, I would just be doing that with aggressive trade management. If we break this trend line, any supply zone there is going to be a potentially nice trading opportunity to the downside here on crude oil. Last but certainly not least, we are looking at Bitcoin here. Weekly time frame, the highest time frame we use for my forecast, shows a weekly downward trend line, but we are sitting above the 50% mark. So clearly we have a little bit of strength happening here, but overall it's important to understand that we are in a weekly downward trend line. But what's also very important is that we are sitting inside of a monthly area of demand. So it is a little tricky to determine where we could be headed. My gut feeling is telling me we are maybe pulling back up to this daily supply, where we then get maybe another sell off to the downside at 71,314. So if we continue to hold, and I mean right now we have a beautiful 4 hour trend line being respected. Again, we're like 4 for 4 on our trend lines in our forecast. That's the trend line. That is a reaction off of, again, our properly drawn trend line. Yes, there is a proper way to draw it, as far as I see it. So as long as this trend line is holding, you could justify 15-minute time frame longs. If we break the trend line, any supply zone could be good for a short trade. We also have a 4 hour area demand sitting down below at 59,000. I don't love the zone. I mean, the initial move away is decent. I don't like that we kind of paused here, but I like that it removed the trend line. What I don't like about it is it's kind of getting old. So if we get another leg up here, I wouldn't really be trading that zone at that point. However, if this week we break the trend line and we push back, I still think this will be a nice little buying opportunity on Bitcoin. If you guys want access to my full-length forecast, join the Diamond membership where you will have access to that, as well as my daily market forecast, the full course supply and demand PDF, and much, much more. Make sure you guys subscribe so you can catch next week's forecast as well. And I always appreciate a like. Thank you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.